Through the chair.
Trustee Maher.
I actually have an announcement. I wanted to thank Bob Miller because I know that he's had a huge role in accomplishing those things for our township. I know he's doing a lot of work on the street for the supervisor while she's busy, and he's responsible for a lot of those positive things, in addition to a lot of the folks that work in Township Hall that you don't see. So thank you, much more so than any of us up here. Continuing, I actually have an announcement to make as a citizen because my role up here on the Township Board is really secondary to my role as a citizen of
Please
this
be
township.
quiet.
I don't like a lot of things that have been happening here outside of this good news that we got tonight. At our last regularly scheduled meeting, you heard many of us voice concerns about the proposed COAM contract which Supervisor Kobolars played a leading role in negotiating and directing. After discussion at the last board meeting, the contract was tabled because of concerns that some of us had that it would harm the police department going forward and the township residents left behind by first shoving the most experienced officers in our department out the door in a large block at a time when we're already experiencing a manning shortfall, which has seen results in terms of a safety incident in the jail this summer and huge declines in ticket revenues because officers are tired and stretched to the max, serving their overtime to cover for holes in regular shifts instead of the extra details that bring revenue to the township. This contract also penalized the officers who were left behind by limiting their advancement opportunities, decreasing benefits, and taking away important things like take-home cars for on-call officers. This affects us because after this new COAM contract takes place, if your child is kidnapped in the middle of the night and the on-call officer is paged, he will have to go to the station, suit up, and get a new car from the station instead of jumping into his take-home vehicle and pursuing your child immediately. That translates to critical minutes or hours. The third way this contract was bad is for our residents at a time when we are experiencing huge economic difficulty and lost homes, lost jobs. This will toss an additional tax burden onto taxpayers because the incentive for the officers to leave is an increased punch and multiplier, which we will pay for years through tax millage that will be increased. Under this contract, citizens will pay more for the privilege of having fewer people to protect us with diminished resources. What happened with that contract, you might ask? The last time you heard, we had tabled it for further information or discussion. Well, in a fashion typical of the Kobolars administration that you don't see at the smiling meetings, a closed meeting was called almost immediately to push the contract through. During the time leading up to the closed meeting and during the meeting itself, pressure was put on all of the board members to accept the contract, which is bad for the police department, bad for the township, bad for your safety, bad for taxpayers. So much for openness and campaign slogans. Once again, a bad decision was forced through behind closed doors in a secretive study session, which is the trademark of this administration. I don't know about you all, but as a citizen, before a board member, I don't like this kind of government. It's not honest, it's not open and accountable. My friends, this contract incident is the last and most recent of a long list of disastrous choices that have been bullied through by our supervisor since she took office. Choices which have already seriously harmed our township and which will only continue to do so in an increasing way behind the sound bites and the smiles for the camera. As one of her first moves in office, your supervisor made a power play to change a long-standing police overtime policy, which has annually for years brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars to our township in revenue, increased resident safety by keeping extra officers on the street, lightened the burden on our court system, and kept officer morale up. Many told her that change would be harmful and was not a good idea, from people at the township offices to the people at the courts, to officers, to residents. However, in typical dictatorial fashion, the supervisor ignored all advice and made drastic changes because she wanted them. A few weeks ago in budget talks, we saw the results. Revenue from that source is down since Ms. Kobolar's change, almost $500,000. That is a $500,000 hole that will have to be plugged by other bad decisions to tax you or cut services. As a citizen, not as a board member, I am concerned to hear further discussions about cuts to public safety as a solution to that hole. Why not simply correct her error and reestablish the program to get revenue coming in again? And if we're talking about police resources, could Ms. Kobolars please stop dipping into them by driving unmarked police cars to her expensive political networking conferences? I bet that's something you didn't know about at the meetings. if she's
What,
taking them away
Katie,
from the
I'm going to
officers.
stop
I'm
you
speaking.
because, no, this is
I am speaking.
announcements from the board. If you wanted to speak as a citizen, you could have spoken during citizens' comments. Your charges are outrageous.
Ms. Kobelarz, I am
They
not
are
done. I am not
inappropriate,
done.
and this is not the time.
I am not done,
So
and I
if you
was
would like
told-
to address the board during citizens' comments, you're welcome to,
Ms. Kobelarz,
but your
I was
charges
told by
are
your clerk
inappropriate.
This was the time to do it.
Our clerk is not
And
here.
just because it is not.
Our clerk is not here. So acting
was
as the
told by
chief
excuse me,
parliamentarian, you're out of line.
Well, I find that this self-interest is very interesting. The next move that Ms.
You know what?
Kobelarz
Just
made
for
was to
fun,
close
let's hear you
down-
out.
was